Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. This is Jack Toledano speaking for All or Nada according to Jack. Welcome to another episode. As I get a little closer. So this beauty I bought a few years ago at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. Very cool place. So if you're ever out there and you're in North Vegas, check it out. It is right by that big awning where you can do one of those zip line rides, but I digress. So in any event, we're going to talk about a topic that I have not spoken about since I started this show, All or Not, according to Jack, back in December. We're going to talk about, this is going to be more of actually a memorial episode, but we are going to talk about some of the mob movies and the mob TV shows. But this in particular is going to be about the passing of Tony Sirico, otherwise known as Paulie Walnuts, on the hit show, The Sopranos. So let's get to it. So in any event, we're going to talk about The Sopranos, and we're going to pay homage. So I got this beautiful DVD box set of the entire series, courtesy of my daughter Samantha for Christmas. And how I got into the show, we used to have HBO, and I started watching, and then I'm like, you know what? I want the collectible. So I put it on my Christmas list and I got it. But in particular, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this guy. We're going to talk about his 10 best lines or dialogue or scenes that he was in. Paulie Walnuts really helped make the show what it was. Granted, it was very serious at times, and there were some killings, and there was a lot of foul language, but you know what? What made it great was some of the comic relief, and this guy brought plenty of it. So before we get to that, I just like to say so in the mob genre of movies and entertainment television, in the last several weeks, we lost several great actors. So first there was Ray Liotta, who I believe we lost probably within the last month. Everybody knows him as Henry Hill. He was in the movie Goodfellas, and what a great movie that was. And even Tony Sirico had a big part. Thankfully, they would give him a much bigger part in The Sopranos. He was a regular and funny as hell. We also lost Sonny, played by James Caan in the movie The Godfather. So around midway through the movie, he was ambushed at a, what do they call that? At a toll booth that looked like, it was made to look like the toll booth that was going to Far Rockaway. Now, it was, some people have asked me if I ever been over there. Funny thing about that, it was actually not filmed there. It was actually filmed near present-day Nassau Coliseum in the middle of Nassau County. So back in like 1971, 1972, they built the Nassau Coliseum and opened it. But prior to that, it was a big barren airstrip. It was like a big barren open wasteland. It was what they used to call Mitchell Airfield. It was mainly for military planes that would take off, and land there. And actually, going back to the early 20th century, it was where Charles Lindbergh actually took off and did his first flight to, transcontinental. Yeah, is it transcontinental? No. Basically, his first over-the-ocean flight to Europe was from that same airstrip, and that's where they built that toll booth and set the whole scene up. And Sonny slash James Caan gets killed. So that's that. But let's get to the Sopranos. So what we're going to do is switch to a background. I'm going to switch to a few different backgrounds. So in this background, you see reading from my left to my right, you have Bobby Bacala, you have Christopher Moltisanti, Tony Soprano, Silvio Dante, otherwise known as Sil, and of course, Paulie Gaultieri, or Paulie Walnuts, as they would call him. So let's talk about some of our top 10 moments of Big Paulie. So number 10, where he says and number 10 and number 9 are dialogues that he had between him and Chris, who was he was basically kind of like his mentor slash manager, and he was made a capo of that family in New Jersey. So, that was strange. I think the ghost of Paulie's haunting me. I lost my light, but it came back. So in any event, he was kind of a capo slash leader of Christopher Moltisanti, second from my left as I'm looking at him. He became a made guy, but of course he had to kick up more money and more responsibility to Big Paulie, who then had to kick up to Tony, etc., etc. So line number 10, I'm here to tell you one thing. You ever go wanting to the big man again about shit between you and me? We'll have a problem, my friend. So that was number 10. Number 9. So in this scene, so as Christopher became a made guy, he was in a probationary period, if that can be believed. And he was subject to strip searches. So they could ask him to strip at any time just to check to make sure he's not wearing a wire. So in this scene, I said everything. Chris, go fuck yourself. Paulie, before I was breaking balls. Now you're beginning to worry me. So then Chris drops his drawers all the way. I guess you could call that a dick. Great scene. And I do have to warn you, there's gonna be a lot of racy, or how would you say, a lot of dirty language in this dialogue. So parental guidance suggested. Number 8, and this is a favorite scene of mine, so take a drink break first. So, having been born in Italy and having been back in the old country, I know the culture, and I know, being an Italian American, I know that culture as well. So, the vast differences between being all Italian living in Italy versus being Italian and American in America, bringing over some of your culture, but being Americanized. It's it's really captured in this scene. So they go to, so it's Christopher, Tony, and Paulie. They go to Italy because they want to make a deal with the Italian mafia. They want to be able to rip off, steal cars and send them over on, by boat and make money, shipping stolen cars overseas. So they're trying to make a deal to do that, and they're sitting down in this fancy hotel, having this fancy dinner, and they're actually being served a plate of pasta with squid ink, and Paulie's looking at the squid ink in this pasta, and he's like, he's like a little child that's been relegated to sit at the dinner table till he finishes all his vegetables. And Paulie's not happy. And being what we thought was an Italian, you'd think he'd know better. He says, scusa. He calls the waiter over and says, you have any macaroni with gravy? I can't eat this. So across the table, these two Italian guys, and again, you have to know the culture. They're very quick with the pun in Italian to each other, especially when there are people at the table or in the room that don't speak the language like they do. One guy looks at the other guy and very simply says, and you thought the Germans were pieces of shit. Says this in Italian, and of course I got to understand it from the subtitles, but that was a great scene. So number 7. So they're in the hospital, and Jackie Jr., Jackie Aprile Jr., wants to move up in the mafia world, but he's he's a youngling, and basically he's not privy to be in on certain conversations and doesn't know his place yet to keep his mouth shut in certain situations. So Tony says, why don't you go grab us some coffee? So with that, he says, you're kidding me. So then Paulie, better yet, why don't you go to the ear, nose, and throat department and get your hearing checked? Love that scene. Okay. All right, so we're going to switch to another background. This is a really, really funny scene. But before we do that, if you're looking at this picture and you see Paulie, look at that wing, his wing-backed hair. That is the funniest thing. The way it's all combed back, and you got those. It's like almost looks like an Eagles Philadelphia Eagles helmet that he's wearing on his head. Too funny. But anyway, number 6. So Paulie's talking to Chris, and they're looking at, across the room at Bobby Baglieri and Vito Spatafor, two of the heavyset guys in that mob family. And he says, oh, look at that. It's an ad for a weight loss center. Before and way before. I know it's insensitive to heavy people, and I was there once upon a time, but it was kind of funny. Of course, Bobby muttered under his breath, he's always got to break balls. So number 5, getting back to the strip searches. So both, so it was Paulie and one of the other guys, Patsy Parisi, I believe it was. So they made a surprise visit to Chris and his girlfriend. Oh shit, what the hell is her name? So, as I said, so Paulie and Patsy Parisi, they stop off at Chris's apartment, and he's living with his girlfriend Adriana. So they had to do one of their strip searches again, just to make sure he's on the up and up. He's not wearing a wire. So there was some fallout from that. So both Paulie and Tony are having a private conversation, and Tony said, did you sniff that girl's panties? Paulie, he told you that? And then they're bantering back and forth, and Tony says, you got to apologize to him. He's gonna marry the dame. So then with that, Paulie says, as of the wedding day, anything that touches her pussy is off limits. But he wasn't apologizing at that very time. And he did sniff her panties. Pervert. Okay, so number 4, this is one of Paulie's pearls of wisdom as they're watching a nature program. So Paulie says to Tony, amazing thing about snakes, is that they reproduce spontaneously. They are both male and female sex organs. That's why somebody you don't trust, you call a snake. How can you trust a guy who can literally go fuck themselves? Snakes were fucking themselves long before Adam and Eve showed up, T. Pearl of wisdom. Another pearl of wisdom, number 3, where he says, and he's talking to the group. They're in the back of the Bada Bing, having it was the back of the Bada Bing. They had their own little meeting room and kitchen and so on and so forth, and they're eating, and Paulie's washing up feverishly. So they asked him. So I know Sil was there, Hesh was there, Chris was there, a whole bunch of them were there, and they were. So they're like, "Why do you keep washing your hands?" And apparently, Paulie has a phobia about shoelaces, which is why he wears those slide-on or slip-on shoes that don't have any laces. So he says, "I can't stand touching fucking shoelaces. Ever go to tie your shoes and you notice the end of your laces are wet? Even if the laces are dry, bacteria and virus migrate from the sole of the shoe up. Your average men's shithouse is a fucking sewer. You look at a ladies, John, you can eat maple walnut ice cream from the toilets." I know in my lodge, they worry about men missing the bowl and getting a little beyond the rim and on the floor. So I guess Paulie isn't the only one with a phobia. All right. So we're down to our top 2. Let's find another. I have one more video, or rather one more picture to show you. So this is one of their many times they go to a funeral home to pay their respects to a family member or somebody in the mafia who bought the big one. Okay, so number 2. This is one of my all-time favorite scenes. This is a scene where they get into a territorial dispute over landscaping, cutting lawns in the neighborhood, for God's sake. So he pulls up in his Cadillac and he says, "You, Gary?" Man holding the rope says, "I'm Jimmy. Gary's up there." So Paulie yells up to the guy in the tree who was trimming some branches. "Hey, come down here. I said, get down here. I want to talk to you." So Gary up in the tree, "What do you want?" So Paulie, "I'm a friend of Salvitro. My aunt lives on this street. So I'm guessing Salvitro used to do this yard." Gary, "A lot of things used to be." Paulie, "Maybe so, but you're going to make good on his busted arm." Gary, "Oh yeah? Why am I going to do that?" Paulie, "Because I said so, that's why." Gary, "Big mistake. Eat shit, pal." Huge fucking mistake. So what does Paulie do? Okay, walks away, goes into the trailer van, grabs a shovel, whacks Jimmy on the head. As a result, Jimmy lets go of the rope, and Gary falls out of the tree. Oh, funny as hell. So Paulie, "Give me your wallet, you prick." So he grabs his wallet, takes the money out. So when he shows it to him, "This and the mower is a down payment. By next Tuesday, I want Salvitro's whole orthopedist bill paid. Let's call it $1,200. Top of that, from now on, I get 10% of whatever you make in this neighborhood." All right, so the top dialogue that involved Paulie. This was a great one. Probably one of my favorite episodes. This was the episode where they get caught in the Pine Barrens chasing some Russian guy. So basically, they went to collect some money from the Russian guy. One thing led to another. They started cracking wise at each other, and they got into a fight with this Russian guy. They knocked him unconscious, wrapped him up in a carpet, took him down to the Pine Barrens, thought he was dead. He was very much alive. He's used to cold weather, so he escaped, thanks to the bumbling efforts of Paulie Walnuts. So they're on this, and their cell phone's dying. So they're talking to Tony. Tony says, "The guy you're looking for is an ex-commando. He killed 16 Chechen rebels single-handed." Paulie, "Get the fuck out of here." Tony, "He was with the Interior Ministry. The guy's some kind of Russian Green Beret. This guy cannot come back alive to tell his story. You understand?" Paulie, "I hear you." Static, a lot of static. So then Tony, "Fuck." Meanwhile, Paulie says to Chris, "You're not going to believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. The guy was an interior decorator." Chris, "His house looked like shit." So that's that. The top 10 of the top 10 scenes and dialogue of Paulie Walnuts. So I'm just going to go through them briefly. 10 is when he tells him not to go whining to the big man ever again. Number 9, with the strip search, Chris says to fuck off. And at the end, Paulie says, "Oh, and you call that a dick?" So number 8 was the scene where they're in Italy and he doesn't want to eat the pasta with squid ink. And the guy says, "And the Germans, and we thought the Germans were pieces of shit." 7, when he tells Jackie Jr. Aprile, "Why don't you go grab us some coffee?" At which point Paulie says, "No, go to the ear, nose, and throat department." Number 6, he makes the weight crack to Bobby and Vito about the weight loss center. 5, did you sniff the girl's panties? 4, amazing thing about snakes, as only Paulie can tell it. Yeah, maybe I should lean this way so you can see Paulie's face. Number 3, I can't stand touching fucking shoelaces. 2, the dispute over the territory of the landscapers. And of course, 1, the Pine Barrens episode where, the guy was an interior decorator. Tony Sirico, Mr. Tony Sirico, rest in peace, my friend. Thank you for entertaining us. What a great show. I watch it over and over. Rest in peace. This is Jack Toledano speaking for All or Not, according to Jack. Have a good one, everybody.